Y'all, welcome back to Kentucky Fried Wargaming, where two guys who aren't qualified to talk about anything decide to talk about a game with hard math and chance. I'm Joe.
And I'm John.
And we are currently on a crusade of sorts to do a faction focus for all 27 factions in Warhammer 40k 10th edition.
I would like to put it on the record that I will not join a crusade.
Well, that doesn't bode well for you today, John, because we are talking about the Black Templars, and if you don't join the crusade, you die.
Much like a lot of other organizations.
I won't say it out loud, but the Black Templar are interesting, and to really get to grips with them, if you're maybe interested in them, because let's be honest, you probably saw the cool models. They got all the great symbolism, they got the cool swords, they got the big pauldrons, like candles and stuff on them.
They're the most gothic knights possible.
Yes.
Like Dark Angels have like British and like a little bit of French knights. This is like Knights Templar Kingdom of Heaven.
Yes,
like,
straight, like the touchstone is very obvious. And they just took that idea and then shunted it 40,000 years into the future. And it is as it looks on the tip. The Black Templars are a successor chapter of a chapter called the Imperial Fists, which means their Primarch is Rogaldorn. It's a name you might have heard a number of times in a lot of lore. However, they're not relegated to the status that many successor chapters are, where they are just sort of like a footnote in the history of a lot of the game, with no models to speak of and no flavor of their own. The Black Templars have carved a name for themselves in this game through zeal and absolute martial supremacy.
Yeah. They have almost a legion's worth of like fighting force because they've been on crusade for 10,000 years.
Yes. In the sort of rules of Space Marine, so to speak, in the world, you're not allowed to have too many Space Marine for fear that if you go traitor, it could be a problem if you try to turn on everybody. The only exception is if you are a chapter on crusade. So you're going out to fight for the Imperium in a crusade. Then you can have more soldiers because you are doing more work out in the galaxy. And the Black Templars saw that loophole and said, what if we never stop crusading?
What if we fight forever?
That means I can do what I want. So they have. And they just don't stop. And it shows. You can see it in the model, you can see it in the rules, but they are absolute fervent religious zealots who believe...
They hate psychers.
They hate witches, they hate Xenos, they hate chaos, they hate anything non-human, and anyone who disagrees that the Emperor is a god must be eliminated by their ethos. And they will do so
impeccable
brutally.
Swordsmen. In their kind of foil is World Eaters, right? So way back when, their original progenitor, Sigismund, used to fight in like duels with World Eaters. And so like you'll see in all their models, they have chains wrapped around their weapons. They learned that from the World Eaters back then. So they've adopted a lot of the same stuff from like some of the traitor legions and brought them into Loyalist Legion stuff. But they say that it's different. It's totally different.
It's totally questions.
Different.
We'll take no questions. If you ask questions, you die. And they do have a sort of martial mindset that does make them sort of similar in some ways to some of the traitors. Just, they fight for a different god. But at the end of the day, they are still Space Marines. And as such, they get the same overall faction rule that all Space Marines get, which in this case is Oath of Moment.
Right. An Oath of Moment here, right? You're a melee force, right? But where a lot of other melee forces use tricks to kind of like loop around, to get into the back, to do everything else, Black Templars want to make a wedge in the middle of the force. They want to have a tip of the spear. They want to slam directly into you and kind of break you in half. You want to pick the biggest anvil like they have on their other side of the table that's going to stop you from breaking through their lines. You want to hammer through it. You want to pick that and you want to beat away at it with whatever you have. And you have a lot of stuff that allow you to get in there and get into combat pretty quickly, but you don't have a lot of damage buffs, so you really need to focus on using that Oath of Moment to get your damage there.
Yeah, so what it mechanically lets you do is, at the start of your turn, you get to look at a target and declare it as the target of your Oath of Moment. And what it does is, all of your soldiers make a vow in that moment that they are going to kill that target. And when that happens, you get to reroll all your hits, you get to reroll all your wounds. And it just really makes sure that stuff gets to stay dead. And this is also very flavorful for the Black Templars, because they are very well known for the number of vows that they take consistently. Sort of like these little prayers to the Emperor promising him that they are going to do incredible things on the field in his glorious holy name. And now that's on the board mechanically in a mechanic called Templar Vows, which I know the name isn't very different, but I mean, it's on the nose, it does what it says on the tip. But mechanically, what this lets you do is, at the start of your first battle round, all of your Templars get to take a vow. And all of these vows are plucked from the fluff, but you get to pick a vow, and everyone takes the vow together, sort of like a collective prayer or ritual. And depending on what you choose at the start of the first battle round, everything in your army is gonna get a buff. Everything. So, for example, let's say you choose Suffer Not the Unclean to Live. When that happens, everything in your whole army gets the lethal hits ability for melee weapons. That's incredible.
It's very good.
That, if you choose correctly, is going to do so much work. And the key here is that you get to pick it at the start of the first battle round, because that means you get to use it to pick the vow, as you can see over there, that best fits your opponent.
Right. Getting to like list tailor, we saw this with Tyranids too, is really good for certain factions, especially when they kind of have a very specific niche, like Black Templar do. Being able to say, this more benefits me against this faction, makes going against other things like Chaos Knights or Imperial Knights, or like Demons or Tau much easier.
Yeah, so you get to pick it, and then immediately you know what you're trying to get to. You know, if you're trying to clear hordes, if you're trying to kill psychers, whatever you're trying to do, you can choose it, and boom, you're off to the races. Now you can get out there and duel the scum in the Emperor's glorious name. Because that really is at the heart of this faction. Is sort of the idea of going on Glorious Crusade and with melee force putting down the heretics. And
yes,
here we don't go over every single data sheet because it could just be a little bit cumbersome. So instead, we each like to pick one and then use that as a way to show an example of how the faction works, that things that are, you know, sort of indicative of what you could expect if you go to play the faction. In this case, John, what Glorious Crusader did you pick?
The core of your list. You are going to take this unit, the Primaris Crusader Squad, right? Mm-hmm. You can't take a Land Raider without filling them full of these dudes. Like, you just can't. You're going to need these dudes. You might not even put these dudes in a Land Raider. I'm going to be honest with you. But let me explain why they're cool. So, first off, right, they do their very cool lore thing where they've got multiple types of units in here, right? Multiple types of models. Mm-hmm. You have your Neophytes, and you have your normal Black Templars. Your Neophytes are essentially like scouts in the other Space Marine factions, or like squires, if you're new to this, that are learning how to be a Black Templar on the field in combat with another Black Templar that's teaching them. And you see that in your squads on the table. You have mixed squads where like some of them have more armor than the other, some of them have more attacks. It's very good. Right?
So like, you get to see someone learn the ropes on the field.
Right. So like narratively, you can have your guys grow as you build more squads. But it also just looks super cool on the table because it's unique and different and not like every other Space Marine faction.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you can customize these units, right? You can give them bolt pistols, bolt rifles, heavy bolt pistols, neophyte firearms, pyre pistols, pyre blasters. I'm just going down the list. There's so many things you can put them on, so you can make each Crusader squad unique and tell a story with them. And then beyond that, their abilities, right? They have Scout 6 inches. So at the beginning of the battle round, the first battle round, they can move up 6 inches before your movement phase. You can reposition slightly if your opponent deployed differently than you want to do, or you can be hyper aggressive, start running directly towards the enemy. And that is the benefit of the other ability on their scroll, where they can re-roll advance and charge rolls made for this unit.
Yes, that's so good.
Their whole thing as Black Templars is getting down the field and just getting in there and locking it in, securing a charge. Being able to re-roll charge just on your sheet means you can focus on the other buffs you want to get from the characters that are available to you. You can just tailor these squads however you want. You're going to bring more than one. These are like your intercessors, right? And they're battle line, so you can have up to 6 of them in your army. You can just have a full foot Black Templars crusading force if you wanted to. It's crazy.
It's amazing. I love it. And I'm going to kind of alley-oop off you a little bit because I picked a hero, John. One that goes in this crusading squad. It's not very surprising. For me, when I think of Black Templars, I think of their namesake, Sigismund, who was the greatest duelist and slaughtered so many people in open, honorable combat. It's mind-boggling, the body count he had. And that legacy is so strong that it has passed down through the chapter. And now, as you can see over there, there's the Emperor's Champion. This is the title that is passed down from person to person. The best, sort of strongest duelist in the chapter, who, through glorious combat, goes toe-to-toe with the biggest, the baddest, the worst, and cuts them down purely with martial efficiency. Like, that bolt pistol is on the scroll. It's never going to be the thing you take this for.
Yeah.
It might as well be ipsum lorem text. It means nothing. The big thing I want to draw your attention to is that black sword weapon, which has 2 forms. You can sweep with it, so like big hacking sweeps to clear a horde, where it gets 10 attacks. Or you get the precision version, which is strike, and that has 6 attacks. These are hitting on 2s. These are strength 8. This AP -3, that's damage 3. And with precision, it gives you the ability to pick out enemy heroes on the battlefield and kill them from other squads. With that stat line, you're gonna do it.
Yeah, you're gonna murder someone amongst his dudes. Like, homeboy showed up with like 12 dudes, just got ganked in front of him.
Yeah. He's gonna get impaled so bad that hurts so terribly. And that's before he gets any buffs from your vows, by the way. So
yeah, he's
gonna hit even harder. And you put this guy at the front of a crusade squad. You chuck him up into the middle. You get him in with the rerolls off the crusader squad. He's in the mix. He's targeting their hero. He chops their head off and then sushimis all the rest of the dudes in line in that squad. And let's say you don't kill him outright. And they have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to swing back at you. You could just say no.
Yeah.
Once per phase, when you fail a melee saving throw, you could just parry it. You just declare that you do a skillful parry, and now the damage is 0.
I really want him to fight Angron, and Angron just like swing at him with this huge axe, and him just go, no.
Yeah, Angron,
Parry.
12 damage axe. Sigismund, no. I'm sorry.
Parry.
Emperor's Champion. Parry. It's so good. It's flavorful.
So good.
And he wrecks. He wrecks so hard. And I think it really speaks to what the Black Templars do.
Yes, 100%. Like, the Black Templars as a faction do one thing, and they is beat yo ass in combat.
It's true. And they're good at it.
Like, yeah, they don't really have any range buffs, but they get in combat and they beat you. They beat you with swords. Just over and over and over again. I mean, we there's all sorts of books out there about them, right? Like, you got Grimaldus versus the Orcs in Armageddon. Like, they just fight. It's great.
It's delightful, and I think that's what draws a lot of people to the chapter. I really do. And if this is sort of working for you and you're into this, we want to send you away before we end the video with some practical tips on how to play this faction and be successful in your first games as you're starting to maybe learn this faction as a returning player or maybe as a brand new player if it's something you're into. Because there are a lot of ways that things could go wrong when you're playing on the tabletop. And I think for me, the number one piece of advice I would give is that Black Templars hit like a Mack truck.
Yeah.
I mean, on the charge, they deal insane amounts of crushing damage. But they don't have a lot of buffs to grind. So if you don't kill someone outright, your units don't usually have a lot of tricks to take a long, drawn-out attrition where they're getting slowly pulled down into the dirt with a lot of sort of counter punches and stuff. So to avoid that, try to be careful about which charges you pick with each unit. So really try to ask yourself, all right, for this unit that I've got here in front of me, what sort of enemy do I need them to get in to grips with to do the best? And if you can figure out how to answer that question and then use that to set your battle plans and pick your charges, you are going to more and more often hit with so much more force than you have to take back, and that skill will grow over time, and you'll find yourself winning more and more.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest tip is similar, except for kind of different. They play very similar to another faction we're going to talk later, which is World Eaters. And something that I have found after playing World Eaters for a long time is that threat saturation is your best friend. So you don't want to put too many eggs in one basket where I've got 4 super units that all slap. No, you want to bring a bunch of stuff and they all need to be threatening, right? And throw them at your opponent and go, you have to, I'm throwing 20 plates at you, spin them all. You're going to drop one, and that one you drop might have had your dinner on it, and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you play this faction. You got to just go, you got to be aggressive, and then more aggressive, and then even more aggressive. You need to just hammer them.
And at the end, you fall apart or they fall apart. But
yeah,
the game's going to end.
And as you keep playing, you'll get more and more used to, where do I throw these threats?
Yep.
What do I need to saturate more on what side of the battlefield in a reliance of what my opponent's doing? And that's how you'll really learn how to excel with Black Templars.
Yeah, it'll just come with time, and hopefully it's enough to get you started if you're into it. However, if you've listened to our spiel and you're not thinking Black Templars are for you, don't worry, we have taken a vow to continue pumping out these faction focuses to where we're going to have all of them, John.
There's a pun in every video.
It's not a pun, it's a reference.
Okay, sure.
And if you enjoy this, or maybe you think it's for a friend, maybe share it to them. We'd appreciate it. And if you have questions or think we didn't cover something, the socials are below, and feel free to reach out in the comment section or on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. For now, that's been all of our opinions. Bonafide, Kentucky Fried. We'll see you all in the next one.